take us through kind of where you guys are progress-wise in the preseason, and how does it, going into a game week, and how does that maybe compare to where you'd ordinarily be in a regular? Are there things you haven't been able to do? Have you had to adjust? Can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's really very similar, to be honest with you. We've gotten into a good routine now. In some ways, you could make the argument in some ways it's been better. We've had a lot of meeting time, and we've had a lot of individual, probably more so than we normally would have in a normal training camp. So we've embraced it. It's been good. It's been different. There's no doubt about it. But I think our staff have gotten into a pretty good,
over there,
kind of a pretty good routine with how we're going to deal with it and focus on the things that we can control and not get frustrated by the new normal. So I think we're in a pretty good routine. The guys are in a pretty good routine. The testing the first couple days in the morning obviously is new. So we had to get used to that, but now it's pretty much a well-oiled machine. One of the things that we did the last couple of mornings is some of these schools, I guess, you're testing yourself. You're basically doing the swab and all that yourself, where we're not set up that way. So we spent the last couple of days doing it ourselves, so that when we go to some of these other Big Ten schools that are operating like that, we're used to it and ready for it. So it's been good, Mark. I would say, that there's anything that we haven't been able to do. The only thing that was probably different for us is, again, we had those split practices for a long time. But like anything, there was some benefits to that. We got a chance to work with the freshmen and the transfers probably longer, and they got more reps than they normally would. So it's allowed a few of those guys to maybe factor in more than in years past. And it's made me think about going back, to a normal training camp that we may do, kind of like in the old days where you could bring the freshmen in a few days early and do some freshman practices. It's made me think about, next year or the year after, whenever we get back to a normal kind of plan, I'd like to do some of these where we spend a little bit more time and give those guys a little bit more attention to allow them to factor in maybe quicker.
Audrey Snyder?
Hey, James, thanks for your time. I wanted to ask you about the X and the Z receivers. How much cross-training do you guys do in Kirk's system between the X and the Z? And who are some of the guys who've kind of impressed you this preseason at both of those spots?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's probably more the X and the slot. It's cross-training between those two, and a little bit with the Z. So the first couple of weeks, we really didn't do any of that, and now we're doing some moving parts right now to just find a way to get the best three guys on the field. And what does that look like? And some guys, it's amazing. Some guys are more comfortable in the slot, and some guys aren't comfortable on the outside, and vice versa. So kind of working through all that right now. But really, this past week, we got going on that, moving guys around to get in a position where you could get your best three on the field, not position specific.
Ryan Parsons?
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Good. What was it like to have Micah back at practice last week? And was there any parting words or anything you said to the guys that'll help get them ready for the first week?
No, but it was kind of crazy, to be honest with you. So we talked to Micah often, and his mom and his dad, and obviously very involved in this whole process for him. But literally, I'm not exaggerating.
Please get off that. Please.
Literally, the day we gave the scholarship to Stoll, I'm in the meeting doing it, and I turn and look, and there's Micah standing in my office. And just so you guys know, Stoll got Micah's scholarship. We were at 85. So when Micah decided wasn't coming back, we were able to do an appeal with the NCAA, get that scholarship, and was able to give it to Stoll. So I turn, and Micah's standing there, I'm like, does he have second thoughts? Well, it's too late. Stoll's got it, you know. But it was good. He was in town and came back to visit family in Harrisburg and then stopped and see his family here in Happy Valley. But it's good. It's good. The challenge is we want Mike around, but there's also the challenge of how we're living right now under the COVID bubble that we've tried to create here. So it makes it difficult to have people that aren't in that bubble and living that lifestyle around us.
And Jones?
Hey James, how's it going?
Hey Ben, good man. You?
No complaints. You've run a pretty family-oriented offense, office. Sorry, not offense. Office since you've gotten here. Obviously, that's not a thing that's happening right now. How is Addison doing? How's your family doing? And how do you kind of battle, the in-building morale throughout the course of the season with those kids not around?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We've been talking about that as a staff a lot. We've had some issues as our families. It's been hard on our wives. It's been hard on the kids because you guys have been around. You see how often our families are at practice, the wives and the kids, and we're not getting any of that. I feel bad for the new staff. The new staff and the new players are having a very different Penn State experience than normal. John Scott, I haven't even met, his wife face to face. I haven't even met his children face to face. He's got a son that's here playing at State College, and he would be at practice. I haven't even met him. So it's different. And, we're having challenges and issues. I'm having challenges and issues with it, with my wife and kids. I think you're right. We got a pretty good kind of way of going about our business around here and including our families as much as possible. And even stuff like bringing the freshmen home to my house for dinner or bringing a position group to my house for dinner. We just had less of that, so there's always that balance that, major college football is a lot of hard work, but you want to make sure that you're having fun with it too. And finding that balance. And it's been difficult, so there's been more, things that we've had to work through, Ben, just things that have come up that I think is there's a direct correlation to COVID and how we're living right now.
Dave and Jerry?
Hey James, how are you?
Good, Dave. How are you?
Good. Has a decision been made yet of which player will wear number 0 for special teams player? And if not, which players are being discussed for that?
Yeah, so just like the video said, it's going to be, who we feel is the most valuable, special teams guy, not only from a production standpoint, but also from a, from a culture perspective as well. So, that'll be mainly a Joe Lurig and Eric Raisbeck, decision. But obviously, our entire staff is hands-on in special teams. We'll all have a voice in that as well. But that has not been decided or announced yet. But we'll be doing it soon, obviously, because we're about to get into game week. So we want to get stuff like that put behind us. But we'll announce that to the team first. I always want the team to know those things first, and then obviously we'll announce those things publicly.
Joe Giuliano?
Hey, James, how are you?
Good, Joe. How are you, buddy?
Good, thank you. About an hour ago, they announced that Nick Saban had tested positive for COVID. Florida's game against LSU has been postponed because of cases. Cases are going up everywhere. I wonder how worrisome it is for you to keep everybody, safe, coaches, staff, players, and just how worrisome it is maybe when you start playing against other people, worrying about them policing themselves with the same vigor as you guys are.
Yeah, so, it's what we try to do is we try to learn as much as we can by listening to, Wayne Sebastianelli and Andy Mutton and Dr. Billy and, all the people that have been fantastic. We try to learn from their conversations with their friends at other schools. We try to, we show examples to our team all the time about professional athletes and leagues that have had challenges, specific schools that have had challenges and issues. One of the issues that we've heard has been a problem is when you go play an away game and the non-travel guys stay behind, those guys being disciplined on a weekend where we're all out of town and they're disappointed that they're not traveling with us. We have heard that's been a problem at other schools, and I can understand why. So we literally just talked about that after practice. It's the coaches. It's me walking around the office and making sure everybody's got their masks on all day long. And we've gotten to a point really where I sit in my office sometimes. You guys are probably similar. Sit in my office sometimes and I got my mask on. And I don't need to have my mask on. I'm in there by myself, and the only reason I know is because my glasses fog up. So if any of you guys can come up with a way to help with that, that's my issue. At practice the other day, I kind of lost my stuff, and I was screaming, and I couldn't even see who I was screaming at because my glasses are all fogged up, and I look like an idiot. But I just think what we're just trying to do, Joe, I said to him today after practice, I said, guys, please, we can't get, complacent with this. We can't get casual with this, because as soon as you do, it gets you. And I said, you can't allow me keep telling these stories every day in the team meeting and then after practice, and you just kind of start to tune me out. One of the things we talked about that we've been told from friends in the NFL was, soon as everyday testing started, kind of people felt like that was kind of like that covered everything. We're getting tested every single day, and it's just another layer of protection. So, I drive everybody crazy. I'm the nag all day long in the office. I'm the nag all day long at practice, and then I get mad at the other personnel on the field because I need some help, of making sure that we're all doing it. So, yeah, Joe, obviously as soon as we made this decision to play college football, and we knew there was going to be definite challenges that came with it, and just as much of challenges, there was going to have to be significant sacrifices made, and there was going to have to be significant discipline shown by everybody. So, we're just trying to do the best we possibly can to make this thing work, and not only how we play on the field and how we scheme and how we coach, but the discipline of how we conduct ourselves away from the Lash football building and Beaver Stadium is going to impact what we do on. Because one of the things I've tried to say to him, Joe, is, and I know these are long answers, I'm sorry, but one of the things I try to say to him, Joe, is like, so Dr. Wayne Sebastianelli works in a hospital every single day, and I saw that someone posted something in the chat room. But like, you got these doctors that work in hospitals all the time with COVID patients, and they're not getting sick. Well, how and why? Because they're following the protocols. They're wearing the mask. They're doing all the things they're supposed to. They're washing their hands. So we just got to do it the best we possibly can. And I'm going to shut up because someone just posted on here, I'm like filibustering. So I'm going to stop talking.
Thank you.
Hagler, last two questions.
Hey, James, how's it going?
Hey, Chris, that's part of the technique. If I talk a long time, then less questions get asked.
Well, you should learn that after this many years of being a head coach, right?
How's it going, James?
Good, Will. Sorry about that.
No problem. All good. So, how would you assess Jaquan Brisker's development, during this long off season and entering his second season here at Penn State?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement in our program for Jaquan. He looks unbelievable. I mean, he just developed so much. And I think we all know typically you see a dramatic change of those junior college players in year two. And we see that with him. His confidence, his understanding of the scheme, his athleticism, his speed, how explosive he is. I mean, he's an impressive looking guy right now. He's making a bunch of plays on the ball. We're getting our hands on so many more balls in practice than we have in the past, which I'm excited about. It's been a real point of emphasis with us. especially on the back end with our defensive backs. And I'm seeing their hard work starting to pay off. I think Brisker and Lamont both have a chance to have really big years. And then we're also excited about the guys behind them as well. But I think those two guys could have big years for us.
Last question, Partha Padre.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
It's hard for me to tell, but it almost looks like you have Christmas pajamas on.
I don't. I'm just wearing a regular T-shirt.
All I saw was the green and red shoulders. I thought you had like Christmas pajamas on, like an elf costume.
No, not quite there yet, Coach. So one thing Lamont Wade talked a lot about during media week was just his son and how being a father has changed his perspective, as a football player and as a man. How do you believe fatherhood has changed Lamont?
Well, I think obviously it gives you a different perspective. It gives you a different perspective. It forces you to grow up and mature, whether you want to or not. You got no choice. And I remember, I remember being 35 years old and having my first child and feeling like I wasn't ready. To see how Lamont has handled all this and the pride that he takes in it, and watching him just grow up as a football player, but as a student and as a leader and as a man in our program. I made a big deal about it after practice the other day. I know you guys wrote a bunch of articles about him, as a possible return man. Well, a big part of that is just his maturity. For me, as an offensive guy with an offensive background as a head coach, the ball security stuff is a big deal for me. And whenever you use defensive guys, they got to show that they're able to protect the football the way offensive guys are, because they just work on it more. With Lamont, I just see his approach to everything. Just the attention to detail is on a completely different level, and his alignment with the coaches and reinforcing messages and being a leader for the young guys, for all of it. And I think that's Lamont just naturally growing up in our program as a senior. But I think that's also, based on his personal background as well, with his mom and dad, who are phenomenal, and also obviously, him being a father. It's there's no doubt about it. I think it's created a situation for Lamont where I think it's just magnified everything for him.
Thank you very much, Coach.